We have incredible candidates. There are city council candidates I've just talked to. We have assembly candidates, Senate candidates. I just cannot tell you how much it means to me as a guy who benefited from incredible leadership, people protecting our communities, our heritage, our schools, our property. These are the folks who stepped forward across this state, but I'm telling you right now, what frustrates me is it's not about having the best candidates. It's really having a community that cares enough to come out and vote. There's an experience I had back where I live now and lived for the last 20 years in Newark, New Jersey that I tell people all the time. It happened in 2008 when I went out to vote. And you remember the candidates in 2008? I have to tell you, I miss Obama. But I'll tell you this, I miss her husband too, as well. But I still remember going to vote in that election, and the line was wrapped around the building. I got up to the end of the line, and I know how genteel folks are up here in Bergen County, but out in Newark, we keep it real. So here I am, the mayor. I roll up on the end of the line, and the woman at the end of the line looks at me, and she doesn't say, hey, Cory, it's a historic day. She just looks at me and she says, don't you think you're cutting in this line now? I don't care who you are. You're not special. You're waiting like everybody else. And I waited for over an hour to vote. And then I got there and was so excited. But 1 year later, we had a gubernatorial election. 1 year later, and I go to vote, and nobody is at the polling place. I walk right in and vote, and I see the poll worker there. I walked around the table and I hugged her because she looked lonely. and then things started happening. Literally, after the election was over, a Democrat got edged out by our current governor. Then people started coming up to me when funding was cut for Planned Parenthoods all over our state. And people kept on saying, why are the Republicans doing this to us? And we were pulled out of regional greenhouse gas agreements. We know that in New Jersey, the #1 health reason kids miss school is asthma. How could we be pulling out of these agreements? As things happened one after another, everybody said, why are we doing this? When veto after veto on gun safety regulations was happening by our governor, stopping bipartisan legislation, people said, well, why, when we have so much gun violence in our state, why is this happening? Why are the Republicans doing this to us? And my response was over and over again, the Republicans aren't doing this to us. Remember that election day? We did this to ourselves. Bad things happen when good people don't vote. Yes. And so that is really the message we've got to give to everybody right now. We saw what happened just a year ago. I was in Michigan. I was in Pennsylvania. Just those 2 states plus Wisconsin alone, if 77,000 people had come out and voted as opposed to sitting home, we would have a different planet Earth right now. We would still be in the Paris Accords. We would still be honoring coalitions that we have like NATO or the United Nations. And so this is a time we've got to recognize the truth of this democracy, the oldest constitutional democracy on the planet Earth, and that's that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. Yes. But the problem is, Alice Walker said the most common way people give up their power is not realizing they have it in the first place. But I know my community. I know what we can do. I saw with Josh Gottheimer's election in 2016. So many people said how hard it was for him to win this race. And I'm telling you, not only did he work, but so many of my friends, so many of my neighbors here went out to work with him. And I'm telling you right now, I work with our congressional coalition on both sides of the aisle, but there was one guy that wouldn't work with us. And this was the person that you all showed that even though we're losing the top election, when this area, when Bergen County works hard, comes together, there's no race we can't win. Right. And Josh is living evidence of that. And now he's down in Washington living our values here in Bergen County, which is not just slam and smear people. No, Josh is one of those guys that reaches out, forms coalitions, and makes things happen. And so this is a time where I'm never again going to take another election for granted. I still remember being in a Whole Foods in Montclair the night before the election day, and somebody asked me, how's the presidential election going to go? And I said, we got this, we got this. No more of that for me. I am now taking the advice I was given in the past. There's only two ways to run: unopposed or afraid. Okay? I'm going to run through the tape all the time. And one of the reasons I'm going to do this is because I've known Phil Murphy for 20 years. When I lost my first New York's mayor's race, some of you might remember this. I'm telling you, this is my advice to everybody. If you're going to have a spectacular failure in your life, have a documentary team there to capture it. Made for a great Oscar-nominated film. And then tragically, it loses to another movie called March of the Penguins. It's so embarrassing. They're flightless rodents, for crying out loud. I'm a vegan, but I make exceptions for penguins. But I still remember I was hurting, and I had just lost. And Phil Murphy, who I didn't know that well, calls me up and says, come down, come to dinner. Tammy and Phil had me over their house, and their message to me was clear, that life is not defined by how many times you get knocked down, Cory. It's how many times that you get up. They saw something in me. They encouraged me to get going. They helped me with the rest of my career. They were there for me those next 4 years.